John and Steph, welcome to Jodrell Bank Observatory in Cheshire. Over the next hour, we're going to enjoy the biggest astronomical spectacle to grace Britain's skies so far this century.
Yeah, we've got cameras across the length and breadth of the country. This is a live shot. I think this is from Newlyn, down near Penzance in Cornwall. You see the eclipse progressing beautifully. They're all standing by to catch the eclipse as it happens.
Plus, we'll be live on the Faroe Islands. We can see the crowd of eager astronomy fans there. They're about to experience a truly remarkable phenomenon, a total solar eclipse.
I'm Brian Cox, he's Dara O'Brien, and this is Eclipse Live, a Stargazing special. Yeah, I should say we are looking there because we can actually see it live here from Jodrell. The clouds have just cleared.
Good morning. We've enjoyed that Jodrell Bank by some very excited people. They brought along their viewing equipment, are ready to watch the eclipse with us. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Back, carry on watching. Now, safety first, of course.
Absolutely, yes. Safety first. You should never, ever look at the sun directly. It's very dangerous. That's not just health and safety. It's absolutely true. You should use these glasses if you've got them, and I can see the eclipse progressing beautifully there. Ordinary sunglasses are no good. They have to have special approved lenses, and you've got to make sure that there are no scratches or damage on these eclipse viewers.
If you haven't got yourself any of these viewers, don't worry. We'll explain to you shortly how you can watch the eclipse safely with things you've got at home.
Now, eclipses aren't that common. The next partial eclipse of the same scale and visible here in the UK won't be until 2026, and the next total eclipse won't be seen here until 2090. But when they happen, they give us the opportunity to find out a little bit more about the sun. And for everyone across the country, they're a chance to see the mechanics of the solar system in action. Now, today's eclipse started in Britain about 40 minutes ago, so let's look at what's happening over our heads. Now, this is a speeded up simulation, and actually at the moment here in Manchester it's about there. So the moon is crossing the face of the sun from left to right, and as it goes it'll leave a sliver of sun behind. You could call it a smile if you like, for just a few moments before the moon continues on its way. Now, let's see that smile again. Can we see the smile again? There we are. So that's what we'll be looking for in about, 20 minutes time or so. Now, it's a partial eclipse over Britain today because you can still see a bit of the sun.
However, just north of Scotland there'll be a more dramatic event, a total solar eclipse, which is where we've sent an airplane to hopefully bring that amazing experience to you live. We will also have here our sun telescope with a solar filter, which should give us some incredible images. Gentlemen, you're over there, still getting pictures already, I hope? Fantastic, we're getting great pictures there. Faint pictures at the moment, so hopefully, depending on the cloud, we're hoping for clear skies over there to move across for us. Now, the readings in the sky will be darkest because there's a huge filter in the lens, and it'll show that bite being taken out of the sun as the moon passes in front of it. We've even yet more cameras dotted around the country, so fingers crossed we should get some fantastic views. As we said, here's the view again. This is the southwest tip of Cornwall, Newlyn.
Yeah, that's just close to Penzance. It should be about halfway through now there.
Now, the eclipse started there in the UK first with first contact the moment the moon started to cover the sun at 8:18 this morning, and that's the image at the moment. Now, that is beautiful.
Oh, that is nice.
That is fantastic.
Terrific. Now, this is Stonehenge. I think we're going to Stonehenge. There it is. The clouds are there at the moment. The Druids will be there tomorrow at dawn, actually, celebrate the spring equinox, because this is an unusual eclipse. Not only is there an eclipse today, but it's also the first day of spring.
And this is the view from the Isle of Lewis off the west coast of Scotland. People are getting very excited there because the Isle of Lewis is the place in the UK which will experience the most extreme eclipse today, 98%. So that's a lovely shot.
What's interesting there is you see that there's more coverage at the moment in Penzance because that shadow is moving northwest.
Is that a sunspot we see, that black dot there?
That is a sunspot because we've seen it from Jodrell as well, and we thought the camera was broken. Now I'm convinced it isn't because that's the shot from the Isle of Lewis. So that's a very, very clear sunspot on the surface of the sun. That's very interesting.
Now, even though it's not great where you are, you don't think you'll see the smile of the sun, don't worry. We've sent Stargazing's Liz Bonham on a special mission high up over the clouds, so we're hoping to get ourselves an incredible view. Liz is there at the moment. Liz, how are you?
Hi guys, we have travelled 600 miles to get you the most wonderful view of the eclipse we possibly can. Can I just tell you that I have been looking at the eclipse starting and I have never seen anything quite so beautiful. We are flying 28,000 feet above the Faroe Islands. We're slap bang in the middle of Norway, Scotland and Iceland, and we're feeling very lucky to be here because we're going to witness a total solar eclipse. The moon will pass right in front of the sun, cover it completely, and we will be plunged into total darkness. It's one of the most extraordinary astronomical phenomena we can witness here on Earth, and we're going to try and capture every second for you with our specialist cameras. Now, we have had to change our flight path, which is why we can't quite bring you the beginning of the eclipse quite yet. Mark Pingale, our cameraman, is scurrying like crazy to try and get it for you now. The weather has changed, the comms we had a bit of a problem with, but we're working our very best to get that to you. And the Faroe Islands are located about 200 miles north of Scotland, and not only should the view here be spectacular, but it should also be down on the ground depending on the cloud cover. So Chris, have you got a clear view of the solar eclipse yet?
Just yet, we can almost hear you up there, can't we? Yes, good morning, welcome to Aya. This is a beautiful town on the northwest coast of the Faroe Isles. Now, normally the population around here is just under 700, but if I pan over here, you'll see people from all over the world have gathered to see the total eclipse of the sun. I've been joined by a veteran of eclipses. You've seen a few, Professor Chris Riley. We are in a very, very lucky position, aren't we?
We're very fortunate, Chris, because this is a pretty rare eclipse to get to see, simply because the shadow doesn't cross too much land. Two remote groups of islands in the North Atlantic, we're on one here in the Faroes, another one, Svalbard, further north. It's quite hard to get here, just a few degrees south of the Arctic Circle, but as you can see, a lot of people have made the effort.
Yeah, a lot of happy, excited faces, as you can probably see behind me, and we're all expecting it to happen there, weather permitting.
Well, weather permitting, we might or might not see it, but it will definitely happen behind my shoulder here, just over those mountains on the camera left. And the shadow will still rush up this valley, this fjord to the south, and we will be plunged into darkness whatever happens to the weather.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Let me tell you, we've had all sorts of weather here so far. We've had the sleet, we've had the rain. We just need a clear blue sky and see that sun.
So the total eclipse in the Faroes is coming up in less than 40 minutes time. You'll be able to watch the sun throughout our show. It'll be down here somewhere, I think, in the corner. So there's the view. I think that's the view from Jodrell Bank now, actually. Yeah, that is. So that's the view live. And in fact, I can confirm that because the clouds have just cleared. And yeah, it's so beautiful to see the moon drifting across there. It never ceases to amaze me.
We want to hear from you. If you're popping out, send us your pictures of you watching the eclipse safely, of course, and get in touch as well if you have any burning questions about eclipses. Our address is stargazing@bbc.co.uk, and you can put your questions on Twitter. It's #AskStargazing. Now we're going to go to the Midlands now. Over in Leicester, Stargazing's own solar scientist, Dr. Lucy Green, has joined up with Newsround's Leah Belletto. Leah, what's going on there?
Well, we are in Leicester and we can confirm we have the sun. Welcome to our special eclipse party. We're all very excited. All these children are from across Leicester. They've come here to take part in some very exciting experiments. They're also here to watch the eclipse as it's underway. First of all, let's have a look at the sun then. Let's all put our glasses on, take a look up, and we've had fantastic weather all of this morning here. It's really clear. We can see the moon taking that nice chunk out of the sun. And back down on the ground though, we've got some really interesting experiments to talk about. This is Heather. Heather, tell us what you're doing today.
We are measuring the wind speed and seeing if it changes during the eclipse.
Fantastic. We'll check in with you a bit later. Bethan, also you're taking part in some experiments today. Tell us about that.
Well, they've let up a balloon in the sky with lots of little cameras in them, and once it gets to a certain height, it's going to pop.
and they'll be able to collect the cameras and look at the images of the solar eclipse.
Really very exciting. So we'll update you on all of those experiments a bit later on in the show. But let me introduce Stargazing's solar scientist, Dr. Lucy Green. Now, it's your job, Lucy, to look at the sun and to study it. I mean, you know how to do that safely, don't you?
That's right. So looking at the sun is dangerous. The sun is so bright, and also it gives off so much heat that you can do real damage to the back of your eyes, and there are no pain sensors there, so you won't even feel the damage being done. So the best way by far is to use a pair of these. These are Eclipse views, and that's what we've all got here today. But do just check they've got this CE mark, shows their safety, and just check there's no scratches or holes in them, and then do exactly as we've done already. Put them over your eyes, turn towards the sun, and there it is. But in fact, even if you don't have a pair of these to hand, don't worry, there are other ways that you can view the eclipse. And in fact, a few weeks ago, I went down to Bournemouth to make a guide to show you how to view the eclipse safely. You probably have one of these in your kitchen. It's the colander, and believe it or not, it provides an excellent and fuss-free way to view the solar eclipse. What you'll need to do is turn away from the sun and let the colander cast its shadow. And notice those spots of light. Well, each hole in the colander is creating a projected image of the sun. Now, the eclipse hasn't started yet, so to show you what's going to happen, I need to pop in here. If we imagine that this light is the sun and this piece of card is the moon, then I can create my very own solar eclipse. Keep watching the light coming through the colander and you'll see something magical happen. With the sun partly covered, each of those projected images turns into a crescent shape. It's quite beautiful. The projected image of the eclipse will appear upside down and back to front because of the way the light travels through the holes. But if you don't have a colander to hand, don't worry. There are several ways to create a projected image of the sun. The simplest needs nothing more than two pieces of paper and a pin. So take the pin and make the hole in one of the pieces of paper. Then hold that up towards the sun and let the light pass through and fall on the second piece. Let's see how it looks when I create my own eclipse back in the beach hut. The smaller the pinhole, the sharper the image will be. For a bigger image, move the bits of paper away from each other, although the projection will become fainter. A solar telescope gives the clearest projection. If you're lucky enough to have one where you're watching the eclipse, here's how to get the best from it. How it works is that the sun's light comes through a lens at the front and bounces off three mirrors inside and then creates an image of the sun on this piece of paper in the centre. So it's essentially a folded up telescope, and you can see it's nice and compact. So what we have here is this finger that casts a shadow, and to get it looking at the sun you need to get rid of that shadow. Just give it a tilt there, move it slightly, and there the sun is.
That's brilliant.
Great! It's incredible. So by taking just a few simple precautions, there's no reason whatsoever why you can't enjoy a fantastic solar eclipse, a true spectacle of nature.
Now, you know, we promised you live shots from the plane of the total eclipse developing in the Faroes, and here it is. That's live now from the plane above 28,000 feet or something above the Faroes. You see the eclipse progressing beautifully. Also progressing beautifully here at Jodrell. We've noticed actually, bizarrely and strangely, that all the birds have returned to the trees around the Lovell telescope. It's a very strange thing. There you go. So they were flying around earlier, you know, the sun was coming up, it was a bright morning. The light levels are dimming at the moment and they've all gone back to the trees. Absolutely beautiful. Now, The sun won't be completely covered in the UK, and how much of the sun is obscured depends on where you live.
Let's look at our eclipsometer. Starting down in the southwest, we see that Penzance will get as far as 86% of coverage. If we move towards about 9:23, Stonehenge, a little bit later than that, we'll get to 85. Leicester and Joddlebank here, 86, 89. Round about 9:30 will be maximum coverage around here. And then if you go up to the Isle of Lewis, it'll be later and it'll be darker. They'll get as far as 98% coverage at about 9:36 today.
Yeah, what's interesting there is you're seeing the shadow of the moon moving across the surface of the Earth, roughly to the northwest. And that's why you're getting more coverage, but you're also seeing the maximum amount of coverage is moving later as you cross the north to the northwest of the country.
And of course, if we go north or north than that, if we go as far as the Faroe Islands at 9:41, so later again, and they will reach the magic number of 100%.
Yeah, and I'm quite confident we're going to see that actually, because it seems
yes,
the link to the plane.
The weather has been horrendous there. Again, the feedback has been very, very difficult, but it is looking good at the moment. Let's reset the eclipsometer. This is the state of play as we speak right now. Across the UK, we're around about the 70% mark in most places. Penzance obviously was ahead of the game, but they're at 78. But as you go to Joddlebank, we've still only 2/3 of the way through the show. Lewis 60%, but the Faroe Islands is only at a halfway mark at the moment.
I should say actually, it's got noticeably darker here, and that's why I think the birds have all retreated, thinking that the evening's coming. It's very strange.
It is unusual light as well. It's a strange light around here. Yeah. Do go and have a look at the eclipse where you are, safely of course, but remember, we'll be bringing you, hopefully, that total eclipse live from the Faroes. This is what we're having. This is us here now in Jodwell. That's the amount of coverage we have.
You see, we've got about 10 minutes to go till the maximum coverage, and it's pretty, there's about a quarter of it left.
Yes. Now, good weather is vital to successful eclipse watching. Here at Jodwell right now, the cloud is there, but it hasn't changed things too much. We're hoping it'll get even clearer. But who in the country will have the best views? Standing by in the Isle of Lewis in Scotland is Carol Kirkwood. Carol.
Good morning from Cavendish. I'm amongst the standing stones. We've had every kind of weather here already this morning, but I'm glad to say the sun has come out and it is looking amazing. If I put on my glasses, I'm going to describe what I can see. Golly, I've never seen an eclipse of any sort before, and the sun is being obliterated now. It is amazing. Do not look at it with your naked eye, of course. It will damage your eyesight, as we've been saying all morning. But will the sunshine prevail? Well, for some of us today, we are looking at some good spots and some bad spots. So the best chance you have of seeing the partial solar eclipse in the UK is across parts of southwest of England, as we've seen, parts of Wales, heading into eastern England and parts of eastern Scotland as well. You've got less of a chance in southern areas and across Scotland and also Northern Ireland, because there is quite a bit of cloud cover around. So if we look at that in a wee bit more detail, the southwest looking pretty good. The north coast of Devon looking good as we head into Wales. Most of Wales, gin clear skies, looking pretty good. And then as we head over towards the Midlands, again, it is going to be pretty good as well, some clear skies. It is chilly, so if you're tempted outside, do bear that in mind. Now, along the south coast of England into the southeast, London area, there's quite a lot of cloud around this morning. Birmingham, clear skies. To the east of the Pennines, we're also looking at some clear skies around Leicestershire, Lincolnshire. Joddlebank, you're in the cusp of this cloud. In northwest England generally, it's going to be cloudy, so the chances are less. Same for Northern Ireland and a lot of Scotland. There's a lot of cloud around, but to the east, so Fife, Aberdeenshire, around Murray, for example, here too, there's a good chance of being able to see it. And I must say, Dara and Brian, I have never seen a solar eclipse before. It is stunningly amazing.
It is, isn't it, Carol?
Now, lots of questions coming in. Remember, it's #AskStargazing. Lots and lots of people simply asking how are eclipses created.
Well, it's very simple. So the moon moves across the face of the sun. So here's our model, and it casts its shadow on to the surface of the Earth. There's that coincidence. So the moon happens to be 400 times smaller in diameter than the sun, but it also happens to be 400 times closer to the Earth. Absolute coincidence. And so the moon can perfectly
We're
obscured the
not
disk
getting
of the
just how
sun.
far away that is. I mean, it is a long way away.
Yeah,
relatively.
so our model is not quite to scale, but it's reasonably to scale. So you see, we've lined it such that there we are.
Are we getting the idea? Yes.
It's a long way away, and I can actually eclipse direct.
Can I come back?
That's better, isn't it? Much better. Actually, the moon moves further away from the Earth every year by about 4 centimetres. So in a few 100 million years' time, then there will be no more eclipses because the moon will have moved away and it can't cover the face of the sun. So enjoy it while it lasts.
So, other than being nature's great show, what effect is today's eclipse having on the weather right now? That's one of the things they're trying to find out in Leicester. Leah, how is it going?
Oh, we're having a great time here in Leicester. We've just been glued to this eclipse. Let's take a look at what's happening right now above the skies. I'm going to get my glasses on. 3/4 of it covered there, and as I said, the weather's been absolutely fantastic, but back down on the ground, lots of experiments going on to find out the effect the weather is having. Now, Peter Gibbs, famous face, BBC weatherman, tell us a bit about what you're doing first of all.
Perfect weather here, Leah. We're doing a weather experiment, measuring the weather right across the country. Tom, what's the wind speed at the moment?
It says 0.9 miles per hour.
Okay, so that's one of the elements for measuring. Temperature as well. Even if you're not seeing an astronomical eclipse, you'll be experiencing a meteorological eclipse. It's the first of the social media age. So Reading University have set up an experiment to really harness the force of all those observations right around the country. They're going to come back here into the centre. We're going to be looking at the results later on, and we're really searching for the eclipse wind. This is something that's produced by the cooling in the shadow of the moon. You get a circulation around that, you get a gust of wind blowing out from that. It's something that's been observed many times but never properly measured.
And how important is it that all people across the country are able to feed into this?
Well, it's getting that whole UK picture that's really important. Normally you're only getting a few isolated observations, but pulling in all this citizen science is really going to make a big difference.
I'm absolutely loving that. Thank you very much, Peter. We'll be catching up on the guys and finding out the results hopefully a little bit later, but for now it's back to you two.
Thanks, Leah. Now we have some images here from this Jodrell Bank again. Here we are, and the eclipse is progressing nicely. The moon is covering more and more of the sun's surface, and basically what we're doing is we're tracking a shadow.
Yeah, we have a graphic here to show the shadow, the moon shadow moving across the surface of the Earth. So here it is. So you see that shadow. As you said, it sweeps northwest across the face of the globe for a few hours actually, and there it goes, and then that will be clearing the UK about, 12 o'clock, something like that.
And actually, what we can see, if we see that again, you can see there are two different types of shadow. The large, more dispersed shadow is where you'll see a partial eclipse. But you probably spotted it there, small, dark black shadow. That will be the path of the total solar eclipse. There it comes there. Now, in
straight to the Faroes.
Yes, very good land. The Faroes and Svalbard are the two places that will make landfall.
Absolutely.
Now, we've got questions coming in from people. Georgia Scarlett on Twitter and Grange on Twitter. Will the eclipse be seen from space? Asked Georgia. What will the eclipse look like from the ISS? Asked Grange.
Well, we can't show you from the ISS, but we can show you this image, which was taken of the 1999 eclipse in Cornwall. I was there, actually. You can see that it was very cloudy, so we missed it. But that black spot, the sinister-looking black spot over the UK, is the shadow of the moon as captured by the Russian space station Mir.
Now, currently flying inside that shadow of the moon is Liz Bonham. Liz, your plane is bringing us hopefully pictures later on of the eclipse. I imagine it's quite the technical feat.
Thanks, Dara. This is a rather complex operation made only possible by some very clever people and lots of technology, and yet we can't cover every eventuality. We did have some technical problems earlier on, which meant we had to change our flight path completely and make a tighter sausage shape type of flight path over our receivers on the ground in the Faroes. So when you came to us earlier on, we couldn't quite bring you images, but it's working now, guys, and everyone's working very hard yard here. Our pilots are flying and banking like the clappers. Say hello, guys, from the cockpit. Give us a wave. And Andy on my left here has been working very hard to make sure this whole adventure could become possible. Mark Payne-Gill at the back of the plane is tweaking our telescopes, making sure we get the best images possible. And of course, we've got Bungie making sure we can actually transmit to you live and get you those all-important pictures. And there it is, what we've come up here for, the eclipse in all its glory. Look at how far the moon's shadow has already moved in front of the sun. We are looking at that now through our solar telescope, which is basically looking at the sun through a white filter, which means you're looking at all the wavelengths of visible light, but you're attenuating or bringing down the effect of the brightness of the sun. What do you make of that, Brian?
It's absolutely beautiful images, and I tell you here, it's terrific. It's gone dark. It really does feel dark, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're going to check the eclipsometer now to see how things are progressing across the UK. You can see it's reaching its maximum in the southwest. It's about 86.3% there. Stonehenge is doing very, very well. Still a little bit of time to go here in Jodrell Bank, but we can go to Cornwall to see what the image is like there. This should be outside Newlyn Art Gallery, just along the seafront from Penzance.
Look at that.
That's incredible. Yeah, the peak eclipse was at 9:23, 31, 86% sun covered at maximum. Cornwall, of course, experienced a total eclipse in August 99. That's the sun in Newlyn.
And that's actually now, so it's peak.
Bang on peak. That's the smile of the sun over Cornwall.
And actually, you can see it. I think you can see it beginning to recede if that's not an optical illusion. It moves quite fast, actually.
It does, and obviously once it starts, it's only going one way. The partial eclipse there in Newlyn, but of course, heading to the total eclipse in the Fairs in less than 20 minutes now. Let's go back there and join Chris Hollins. Chris.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. We are keeping our fingers crossed, Chris, that this weather will improve. Just remind us, we're hoping and imagining it's going to be happening over your right shoulder.
That's right, although you can't see it, the sun is 70% covered from where we're standing right now, about 15 minutes to go. But the shadow, the total eclipse shadow, touched down south of Greenland about 15 minutes ago and is racing towards us. This 400-kilometre wide, stretched, smeared shadow like a juggernaut approaching, and it will hit those hills in 15 minutes. And even with this cloud, it's going to be very dark and very eerie here.
Okay, as you can see, a lot of excited faces. Go on, Morgul. That was my pathetic attempt at a bit of Faroese. People have travelled from all over the world. I know you've come from Bedfordshire. Is this a first eclipse?
It certainly is, yes.
Looking forward to it?
Very much so.
We've got guys from London.
London, yeah, fifth eclipse.
Fifth eclipse, veterans. This little one, how many eclipses have you seen?
This is going to be my fifth one.
Your fifth, and how old are you?
7.
7. Unbelievable. And these guys, you come all the way from Australia, right?
Right, yes.
Whereabouts?
Melbourne.
Melbourne, and is this your first eclipse?
Second.
Second eclipse. Where did you see the other one?
In Cairns, in Australia.
In Cairns, Australia. Okay, well, I hope the weather improves. It's gonna improve, isn't it? Yeah, they're not very convincing, are they? But whatever happens, it will happen. The eclipse will happen. We will be plunged in darkness. We just hope it will just clear for a couple of seconds so we can see that golden sun being eaten by the moon. Hey,
wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice. Back to you guys.
Now, we're spending the morning talking about how science explains eclipses, but of course eclipses have been here as long as humans have been here and long, long before. But before we knew the real explanation, people thought they were caused by all manner of strange things. For ancient civilizations, a solar eclipse must have been a truly mystifying experience. So they created some rather elaborate myths and legends to explain what was going on. The Vikings believed a pair of chariots drew the sun and moon across the sky. But the riders were lazy, so the days began to drag. This annoyed the Viking god Odin, so he sent a pair of wolves to chase the chariots. And every so often, a wolf would catch up with a chariot, taking a bite from the sun and plunging the world into darkness. The sun being devoured is a very common theme. In Serbia, for example, it is eaten by a varicalakia type of vampire, whereas in Vietnam, it's swallowed by a giant frog. But it's the Hindu story that's one of the most elaborate. The legend begins with a troublemaking demon called Rahu. He sees that the great god Vishnu is handing out an immortalizing elixir to the other gods. Rahu wants this. He disguises himself as a god to dupe Vishnu into giving him a taste. But the sun sees what he's up to and quickly reports his crime. Vishnu is outraged, so he slices off Rahu's head before the elixir can pass down his throat. Rahu's decapitated head becomes immortal. From there on in, Rahu chases the sun and moon for revenge. And every now and again, he catches the sun and swallows it whole. Astronomer Mara Kukula has been studying our relationship with the sun and stars.
It's impossible to underestimate how important the sun was to ancient civilizations. So when people saw that the sun was disappearing chunk by chunk, I think they probably would have wanted to do something to try and bring it back.
Many civilizations made noise to bring back the sun, and it always seemed to work. But despite all their differences, all these myths and legends end the same way. The wolves can't keep pace with the chariots for long. The Varakolaki burns his tongue on the searing heat of the sun. And the Hindu demon Rahu, well, he is just a disembodied head. The sun drops through his neck and light and order are restored once again. Welcome to people around the globe joining us on BBC World and in the UK and on the BBC News channel. Right now we're heading to Stonehenge to see how the partial eclipse is proceeding there. We're almost at maximum. 85% of the sun is covered.
You see, that's a live shot of the sun there from Stonehenge. It's quite cloudy, but the clouds have just cleared, and you see it's about maximum now, actually, just before 9:30.
And obviously we go to Stonehenge. Many theories, archaeological theories, that this was a astronomical site.
It's probably an astronomical site. There are even theories that it was an eclipse predictor, but it was built a long time ago.
Very difficult to work these things out. Okay, let's see how things are progressing in Leicester. Leo Bonetta is there.
Hi guys, so the party here is still in full swing. We've been spending most of our time gazing up with our glasses. We're just a few moments away from that maximum point of eclipse. We're all really excited for the guys here. It's their first ever eclipse. So let's take a quick look at what's happening then above our heads in the sky. And as you can see, it's such a clear view today. We haven't had much cloud, and the guys here are absolutely happy with what they're seeing so far. But we are down on the ground, and these guys, I'm sure, you're not content with just seeing it down on the ground, are you? No, but so we've got one man that can help us see it much higher up in the sky, which should satisfy that lot. So it's Dave Ackerman. Now earlier this morning, assisted with lots of children, they launched a balloon up into the sky. The conditions were perfect, there wasn't much wind, but we had a problem, didn't we, Dave?
Yes, we did. Unfortunately, the live cameras didn't work, so normally we'd delay the launch and launch a bit later, but physics being what it is, we had to launch. So it's gone up with, it's got 4 live cameras, so we'll get the footage later on.
Okay, so the important thing now is that we can actually track where it is. Let's talk a bit about that, because we've got some maps on the screen.
Yeah, that's right. On the screen here, you can see in the middle there's a car which is going down to chase the payload now, and it's actually overtaken the balloon. The balloon's not far from here, but it will go further. It'll land near Aylesbury, we believe.
But we have a big ballooning community at the moment, yes. And we've had lots of pictures sent in from us from other balloons. Should we take a look at some of those pictures, because they're quite stunning?
Yeah, we've got one here. Show you. which is it's just cloud, but we'll get some much better ones later on. But the community is tracking, so I'm not even bothering tracking here. There's radio signals being picked up all around the country by different journalists, and it's all updating the map as we speak.
That's the really interesting thing, isn't it? That later on we will be getting more footage, clarity in that footage too, won't we?
And the balloon's about 2/3 of the way up, so it's going to burst about 30 kilometres, and it's just coming up to 20 now. So at 30 we should get some nice pictures, and that's about the time we get the maximum eclipse as well.
Fantastic. Dave, thank you so much. Well, there you have it. We'll be having better images and pictures a bit later on, but for now it's back to you.
Here we are in Jodrell Bank. This is the dish behind us here.
Yeah, and we've got an image. So you see that there? That's we're using Jodrell's dish as basically a big colander, and you should be able to see there just little crescent images of the sun projected onto the dish. So the lesson there is, if you haven't got eclipse glasses or a colander, use a radio telescope.
And we have reached we think we're at maximum at the moment, at the point that the clouds have completely disappeared here in Jodrell Bank. So this is the eclipsometer again. You can see we're at 87% coverage here. We only thought we were going to get as far as 89%. We're a number of students here from local schools. Hello, how are you all? Are you enjoying it this morning? Yeah. Very, very good. Now, James Martin and Grace Garner from Prieston School, have you been using your special glasses or have you been using these reflectors?
We've been using both, and we've actually got a really good image on here now, so yeah, it looks really good.
It's very difficult to show you from here. Can we get in here? Let's move back for a second. These reflectors are another good safe way. You can see a really strong image there of how little of the sun is visible from behind the moon. It's very, very good. So we've got Prieston School here, Sandbach High School as well. We have Jennifer and Kaylee. How's it? Are you enjoying it?
Yes, it's actually really good.
It's very, very good. Yeah, and so this is another thing. You know, the next one we'll see this is going to be 2026. Is the next time? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's very good. And students, I know it's from Manchester Academy as well. Kate, Evas and Mehdi. What you've been using the colander, Evas? How's that work?
It's not too great, but it's been working. Yeah.
Okay, Graham, but I think you're going to go back to the class.
Yeah.
Very, very good. The students are enormously enjoying this. The question a lot of people ask me, why isn't it dark? We're at 89%. Why isn't it plunged into darkness?
Your eyes adjust to the brightness, so our pupils are opening up, and that's why you can't see, although it is quite twilight-like.
Yes. The eclipse is heading north. More of the sun is being obscured. Carol Kirkwood's in Lewis. How is it there, Carol?
It's gone very dark here in Lewis. I'm in Callanish amongst all the standing stones. And if you look behind me, it is really busy now, people coming out to see it. Now, earlier on, the sun came out and we had a fantastic view, and you could see the sun being eroded because we are now so close, of course, to our maximum coverage, which is going to be just short of 98%. Now it's quite eerie. The cloud has come down, the wind has picked up, it's got a little bit colder as well, and we're in quite an eerie place because amongst these standing stones there's a lot of mythology attached to them. Somebody that knows about that is with me, Deborah Anderson, a local archaeologist. So what's so special about these standing stones, Deborah?
Well, they're amazing. They're about 5,000 years old, and this avenue that we're studying now was actually built to view the lunar standstill, which happens every 18.6 years. But the moon actually skirts the horizon, and there's a range of hills over there that looks actually like a lady on her back, and she's known locally as the Sleeping Beauty, or as the Kayak, which means the Old Woman of the Moon.
Now, is this a particularly good spot where we're standing to see it?
Yes, it is. It's perfect. This avenue was built in the early Bronze Age to actually view lunar standstill, so the moon actually comes through and is silhouetted through the stones there.
Have you ever seen an eclipse yourself?
I've never seen an eclipse. The last one was in 1999, and I was in a meeting.
A meeting? Oh no! Now, just a minute ago, we were actually both looking through our glasses at that. Describe to me how you saw it. I've said how I saw it.
It's an amazing thing to see, but what makes it even more, it's the wind gets up and it gets really weird.
Weird is a good way of describing it. It really does. I've never experienced anything like this before in my life. I think I'm going to be a real convert to this star, Brian.
Okay, now as you can see our shot here in Jodrell, the moon has actually passed over. We've gone past maximum at this point, actually.
So you can see it moving off.
Now, in just a few more minutes, the moon will cover the sun entirely in the Faroes. It'll be plunged into the darkness by a total eclipse. And there are certain phenomena which we're hoping to bring you that only occur during a total eclipse. What's the
We've got a photograph here of the very famous Bailey's beads. So you see there's that line of jewels on it on the ring of the sun. That's the sunlight passing through valleys on the moon. So the last thing to vanish will be the lowlands of the moon.
You actually see an illumination of the geography of the moon.
You're seeing it. And we've got a graphic here, a simulation of what should be seen. That's a close-up of it. We should be seen on the ground at the Faroes. So that's knowing the geography of the moon and knowing the geometry of this eclipse. That's what we expect to be seen.
And after Bailey's beads, what's the
after Bailey's beads, it's probably the most famous part of the eclipse, the diamond ring. So you see that's the first. When the moon crosses the face of the sun, that's the last piece of sunlight shining through a lunar valley. And then when the moon moves off the face of the sun, you see a diamond ring again. And when I saw the total solar eclipse back in 2009 in India, that's when the cheer goes up. When the diamond ring appears, you know the eclipse is finished.
And then after the diamond ring disappears, after the diamond disappears,
at totality you see the corona. That's the sun's atmosphere. Utterly spectacular sight. You only see that when the eclipse is total. That's what Liz should see from the plane. And that's the sun's atmosphere. One of the great mysteries in science. It's 500,000 degrees, the corona, whereas the surface of the sun's only 6,000 degrees.
Outside than actually on the surface. Those are the things to look out for. Let's go to the Faroes now for a total eclipse live. Chris Hollins, what's it like on the ground?
Well, thank you very much indeed. Sadly, we cannot see the sun itself, but you do get a sense that it's getting darker, it's getting a little bit eerie, and as you can see, all the children around here are getting very, very excited. We've heard what should happen up there. What should happen down on Earth? What is it like?
Well, it's already happening. The shadow is really approaching very closely now. There's just a couple of minutes to go. 99% of the sun is already gone. And can you feel the temperature is dropping? We've lost about half a degree centigrade in the last few minutes. The wind has changed direction as we were expecting. Instead of from the Atlantic out in the northwest, it's coming from the northeast now. The energy is being sucked out of the atmosphere here, and really the colours are all changing. Can you see that, Chris?
Yes, as if someone's pulled the colour and life out of this place. I can imagine hundreds and hundreds of years ago, as we know, it was a pretty frightening experience. People around here are a little bit hushed, a little bit nervous. Is it a frightening or inspiring experience?
In about the next minute or two, we are all going to be quite intimidated by this thing. It's a reminder that we're standing on a ball of rock that's spinning through space. These unstoppable motions of the planet that we can do nothing about are almost upon us. And this is a really graphic reminder of that as this shadow hurtles towards us over these hills behind. We're almost upon it.
Well, darkness is almost here. Sadly, we cannot see the spectacular view of the sun, but we do know one person that can possibly bring those spectacular pictures. The person that has probably the best view in the whole world, and that is our Liz. Back to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris. We do have a pretty spectacular view. There's only a chink of the sun's bright light left, but actually what's surprising me the most is it's still very bright up here. Look at the light through the window. I mean, our telescopes are showing you, because of the special filters, the light of the sun, and there's darkness around it. It's still surprisingly so bright, despite the fact that there's only a tiny sliver of the sun left. And I can tell you, it is the most wonderful thing to experience up here. We're only seconds away from totality. Remember, this is only possible because even though the sun is 400 times bigger than our moon, at this moment in our solar system's history, the moon happens to be 400 times closer to Earth than the sun, and so they appear the same size, and the moon can cover the sun up completely. We are edging ever closer to totality. I'm looking out for those Bailey's beads, the last chinks of brightness coming through the gaps left by the moon's rugged landscape, and of course then hopefully the diamond ring. There's no other planet in our solar system that experiences an eclipse like this one. Of course, as the moon continues to edge further away from the Earth, about 3 centimeters each year. In about 500 million years, we'll never have a total eclipse again. But look at this. This is Bailey's beads I didn't realise they were going to be so bright. Look at that. And it's almost like one ginormous diamond ring left, set in a circle of brightness, encircling the moon's shadow. Oh, are we seeing features that look suspiciously like prominences? This is where the chromosphere becomes visible. There it is, the diamond ring. And we have reached totality. We have reached the most incredible moment in a total solar eclipse. There is the corona, the sun's faint, thin atmosphere that you can never see usually. You can only see because the moon has now completely eclipsed the sun. There is one tiny thing one tiny feature at about 11 o'clock that looks like a prominence, potentially. It could be part of the chromosphere, the inner atmosphere of the sun. This is extraordinary. You can see with our closer camera more features of the chromosphere peeking through the sun's activity. It's redder in colour because we are closer to the sun. Look at that. We are definitely seeing prominences here, and the beautiful red light of the chromosphere, the layer of the sun's atmosphere before the corona. I never really thought it was going to be quite this moving, and we are being plunged into darkness.
What I say there, we were surprised by the brightness of Bailey's beads, as was Liz. And the thing to say about eclipses is that every eclipse is different. This is why there are people that obsessively follow them around the globe, because you never quite know about the details of Bailey's beads. You saw actually there, I think the camera exposure changed, didn't it? That's why it whited out almost, but then you saw those Bailey's beads disappear. Very small diamond ring, I thought, compared to ones I've seen before.
Now we're going to see another diamond ring as the moon passes over the sun again.
We should see it emerge from, I think, the bottom right of that image. I think you're beginning to see the diamond ring. So that would be the sun emerging through a valley on the moon. So you're seeing the lunar geography there. As Liz said, the sun's very active at the moment. That's why we had the auroral displays across the northern UK. And so you see those prominences. We'll get more analysis of this actually on the show tonight at 9 o'clock.
We're going to have a load of look back over this both after this and then later on Stargazing Live tonight.
But you see that the moon is moving across to a sort of the 10 o'clock position. So so there is the diamond ring. Well, that's a beautiful diamond ring, isn't it? And you see how bright the sun is, because just that momentary sort of flash of light, and then suddenly the eclipse is gone for another 85 years. so we're going to have to wait 85 years to see another of those.
We actually have a shot from the ground in the Fairs. We've got Chris and Chris there.
Thank you very much indeed. The light has just reappeared. Everybody's in a little bit of shock around here. All these young children around here were screaming and shouting, and then suddenly pitch black. Absolute silence and eeriness in a way. People were rather nervous.
Yes, it was a very precious thing we've just experienced, Chris. That shadow plunged us into darkness, and it felt like night. It truly felt like night, and standing here for those 2 minutes, it was sometimes easy to forget that it wasn't night, it was an eclipse, because it felt almost normal. And then very quickly, just as fast as it had appeared, that light appeared from behind us again. 3,000 kilometres an hour. The shadows raced away across the North Atlantic now. We're back in daylight.
That is almost as spectacular, the light reappearing, because suddenly we were in pitch black and it raced across, and as we can feel now, it's getting brighter and brighter by the second.
Yes, but the darkness, wasn't it totally dark?
Yes.
I couldn't see anything, barely to see you, and it was a plunged, complete darkness, but again, easy to forget that it was this column of darkness stretching 240,000 miles up to the moon that we were standing in. A very precious thing to have experienced. Your first one, how did you feel?
First one, spectacular, worth the wait. We didn't need a clear sky to feel the, I suppose, awe-inspiring experience of that. Back to you guys.
That's an excellent way of putting it, isn't it? A column of darkness extending from the moon, like a finger going across, and just you pass underneath it if you happen to be looking at it.
And I think that's what Chris Riley said earlier, that feeling that I felt what he felt, which is that you see astronomy in action. You know, it's very unusual, but when it's daylight or even when it's the night, you don't get a sense, I think, that you're stood on a planet. But an eclipse, I think, is the one moment when you feel that you're on a ball of rock.
You feel the clockwork universe spinning around you and see how it all links in together.
See how fast everything moves as well.
We can look back over some of the highlights of the eclipse, in particular the Bailey's beads we see.
Yeah, no, they were bright. Liz remarked on this as well, the brightness of the Bailey's beads, and you see how fast the moon's moving. You usually don't get that sense of how quick everything's moving around, but there you saw the Bailey's beads, momentary, not much of a diamond ring actually on the way in.
No, but she mentioned there, I think, a prominence she said that she'd spotted. What is a prominence?
Well, a prominence, so these are eruptions from the sun's surface. Now, we know that the sun is extremely active at the moment. The solar winds are lashing the Earth. These are charged particles from the sun bouncing onto our atmosphere.
So this is why, for example, we're seeing the northern lights at the moment. As far south as Yorkshire or Northumberland, we've been getting photographs of the northern lights. So it's a wonderful time to see the corona.
Oh, it is, yes. We expect, you never know, of course. You never quite know. So, but you see there the beautiful glowing atmosphere. As I said, one of the great mysteries in science is how precisely that works. You've got a surface at 6,000 degrees, and then you move away from the surface, away from the source of heat, and the atmosphere gets hotter. So you're seeing plasma there, so gas glowing at 500,000 degrees, whereas the surface is only 6,000. So great mystery. And you see on the top left there, about 10 o'clock, that Liz commented on it. We'll analyse that later. We'll get the experts to take a look. But it does look like that's an eruption from the surface of the sun. Very bright indeed. Very unusual.
And would we see eruptions in the sun there that we would then later see as northern lights? I mean, what's the...
Well, yeah, it takes a few hours delay, so that one seems to be pointed away from us. It's when one pointed towards us that we get these very violent auroral displays. And if you get a big one, a big solar flare, then it can take out communication satellites. It can even damage power grids and cause power cuts.
Now, let's have a look at the re-emergence of some of the second diamond ring.
Now, this I thought
was as well. We're seeing a particular part of the spectrum here which shows more detail.
Yes, I think this is with what's called a hydrogen alpha filter on. So you're looking at the light from hydrogen atoms. The sun is predominantly hydrogen in the atmosphere, but there you see the diamond ring, and it was a big one this time. I don't know if anyone expected that. Actually, you can never quite tell. It depends on the precise alignment and the precise geography of the moon. But that was spectacular.
That was incredible. Let's get back onto the stargazing thing. Liz, it's not quite over for you yet, is it?
Hi guys, the moon shadow is speeding over our planet at a speed of 2,000 I should say, miles per hour. We're flying at about 335 miles per hour. We can't keep up with it, so...
Lost that. That means we've lost Liz. You know, that's awful, but at least this is a technically incredibly difficult to do. With the best will in the world to Liz, I'm glad we lost her there rather than about 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
The stargazing look continues.
I know. We're quite blessed. That was totality, but the eclipse will continue until about 10:47. You've still got about an hour to catch sight of it. We know in Leicester that they've been looking at the effect of the weather. Let's go back to Leo Belletta to see how they're getting on.
Hello guys, we're loving what we've been doing today, and we've been busy, haven't we, trying to find out how the weather is affected by the eclipse. It's all still going on, by the way. Let's just grab a quick word with Peter. Any early findings so far? I know it's difficult.
Leah, it's been fantastic, and to be honest, you didn't need a thermometer, did you, to just feel that change? The warmth's just coming back from the sun again now as the moon begins to move away. The data's been piling in from over 200 schools, concentrating on making that safe, getting it all together. We'll be analysing that, should have some results certainly for the programme later this evening, but it's just been an amazing experience.
It really has. Thank you so much, Peter. We also, didn't we, we launched a balloon earlier this morning. We weren't able to get those live pictures, but Dave is here to tell us that there are other balloons out there that are sending live pictures. How does it all work? How are we able to see that?
Yeah, what we have is a computer on the payload. The one I've got here is the same as the one we sent up. It's a rather popular computer sold for children to learn how to program. As you can tell, it's used by children of all ages. And what we've got on top is a special board that has a GPS receiver sitting over aces in the sky, the radio transmitter so it can send it down to the ground. And also there's a small camera which then takes the photographs, obviously that's not working, and sends those down to the ground as well.
And what's really interesting is that we are able to track where it is on this map.
Yes,
let's talk a bit about that.
That's right, because of the GPS, we receive the information on the ground, and that uploads to a map. So on the map now we can see where this is in the sky.
Great.
It's about 23 kilometres at the moment. It's got another 6 or 7 to go before it bursts. And also you can see the chase car on there waiting for the balloons to come down and land.
Excellent. And we'll have even better footage, won't we, later this evening?
That's right, we've got HD cameras on there.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Dave. Let's head over here. We need to find Dr. Lucy Greenhouse, solar scientist, in amongst all the children here. I mean, for you, as a solar scientist, what does it mean to have all of these experiments going on and all of this lot really interested in that eclipse?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think that we take the sun for granted by its very nature. We can't look at it without specialist equipment. So what's been amazing is that this morning we've shared it with literally hundreds of people. We've looked at the sun, we've asked questions about the sun, and for me, that is so valuable because the sun is the most important star for us across the whole universe, and it's great that people can find out a bit more about it.
Excellent stuff. Well, Lucy will be live on BBC Two this evening. You'll have all the results from the experiments. But from here in Leicester, it's a big goodbye. See you later.
Thank you very, very much, Leah. One unusual effect is we're hearing a dawn chorus again. The birds are singing again.
The birds have come out and they're flying around the Lovell telescope. They retreated to the trees when it went dark, and now they're singing and flying around again.
Now, if after today's eclipse, seeing one for yourself has now suddenly gone to the top of your bucket list, then here's Liz with what you need to know.
First, you need to find out where and when the next eclipse is going to be.
This is the Eclipse Chasers Bible. It lists every single eclipse that's going to take place over the next 485 years.
From the thousands listed, I've picked 3 that stand out. America in 2017, Antarctica 2021, and Egypt 2027. To help me choose which is my best bet, I'm meeting eclipse expert Sheridan Williams. He's covered 150,000 miles chasing eclipses around the world and has the t-shirts to prove it.
How do you make the decision, as to which ones you absolutely will not miss?
It's a combination of several factors. Cost of getting there, weather conditions, what else you can see while you're there.
So Sheridan is going to rate my locations on cost, weather and overall experience. First up, America. The land of opportunity. This 2017 eclipse is set to cross the entire continent from west to east. But will that guarantee me a decent view?
You've got main roads that go along the centre line of the eclipse, so if you wake up in the morning and it's cloud cover, you could drive along the freeways for maybe an hour and get yourself out into clear skies.
How many marks out of 10?
I'll give it a 9.
Predictable weather and a good road network give the US of A very respectable 9.
How will Antarctica compare in 2021? It's the most remote location on the shortlist and offers a chance to share the event with some amazing wildlife. But will the wintry weather obscure the view?
If you're going to see it from the sea, which is probably the cheapest option, the cloud cover probability is about 70 or 80%. If you can get to a landmass, then 50-50 probability of seeing it.
Okay, but of course getting onto a landmass in Antarctica is not that easy or cheap.
Probably in excess of £10,000.
Okay.
I think because of the expense and the uncertainty of seeing it, I'll drop it to a 4.
Measly 4.
Despite the amazing location, it's just too expensive to score highly. My final eclipse will pass across Egypt in August 2027 and will be best viewed in the ancient city of Luxor.
And the probability of seeing the eclipse in Luxor is almost certainty. The sun is right overhead.
The duration is over 6 minutes.
It's one of the longest you can get. I mean, you can get an eclipse over 7 minutes, but they're very rare.
Lots of sights to see as well. Wonderful weather.
10 out of 10.
Good accessibility, a great location, and with an excellent chance of seeing the eclipse, Egypt is the pick of the bunch.
Now, obviously, when the totality was occurring, we focused on the shots we had of the sun and the moon, but I'm sure you're intrigued as I am to see what it was like on the ground. Let's see. Let's go back to Chris.
Yes, thank you very much. You probably noticed that most of the crowds have dispersed. They've gone off to various festivals and parties, but most of them checking the footage on their cameras because it was an incredible experience. Some people never experienced it before, went totally silent. I don't know whether you can see some of the pictures as we experienced them. It felt like it was a cloudy day, and I was thinking, okay, well, I'll pretend that this is exciting. And then suddenly, Chris, it was pitch black, and the atmosphere, the energy from the whole place just disappeared.
It did. It was a totally pitch darkness. As you can see from these pictures, it went darker than we were even expecting, just because it was so cloudy and dull already. For me, it was the most oppressive and intimidating darkness I think I've ever seen in any eclipse.
And what was equally incredible for me was the return of the light, the speed of it.
Yes, because that shadow was travelling over us. We were unaware of that. Standing in the middle of the shadow of the moon, you can't tell it's passing over you so fast, 3,000 kilometres an hour. And of course, when its edge approaches and it rushes over you again, boom, you're suddenly aware of that cosmic spin that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, we suddenly feel very small and very human and very insignificant. And that's us. We know a very important person, Liz, up in the air.
I think we possibly have used every adjective under the sun, pardon the pun, but it really and truly has been the most extraordinary experience here in our little plane, a display of the workings of our solar system, but above all else, it's been really moving for me, and you can't help but think of our little rock suspended in space, surrounded by these celestial objects that every now and then align to treat us to this wonderful show. I'm heading back to Jodrell, guys, to show you some more exclusive images, so I'll see you tonight for the show on BBC Two. See you soon.
Fantastic. If you want to find out more, there's loads on the website, of course, on our Stargazing. We're back on BBC Two for Stargazing Live tonight for some post-match analysis, essentially.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me is that bright light, that prominence that we saw. I'm really interested in that. The Lovell telescope behind us, actually, has taken some radio data as well. There's that sunspot. We want to talk about that. There's a lot to talk about.
A lot to discuss. Plus, of course, your ongoing hunt for exploding stars, which we've been doing on Stargazing for the last couple of nights. And extraordinary news. We've identified possibly 2,000 possible supernovae, and some have been observed over Chile. But that's all tonight. More about this eclipse. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Thank you to everyone for you've had a fantastic. You've enjoyed this.
Oh, I thought that was spectacular. I was so relieved the plane worked. The Stargazing look held. But join us tonight for the post-match analysis. See you then. Bye-bye.